Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and I had a lot of people asking about how I make my stencils using my Silhouette Cameo machine. So this will be kind of unique to those of you who have like a Cricut or a Silhouette Cameo or some other cutting machine like that. But I like using stencils in my Bible journaling. But I found that super thick stencils are a little bit difficult to use in my Bible. And so something like this that's really thin can kind of mold better to the page and I get better results. And it's just cheaper and easier and I can size it to what I need and make whatever I need. So here's an example of one that I made for a recent workshop that I did. I have a whole bunch here. I have some crosses and some hearts, some more hearts there. I used this one in a video recently with the confetti. And then I have this one here with some roses. So you can see all different sizes. And what I used for the material is this. It's index dividers. I get the Up and Up brand from Target. It's like $1.70 something, I think, for a package of 5. And basically it's just this thin plastic divider that you would insert into your binders, like in between sections. And what I like to do is to, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I cut off the holes and the tab, and so I end up with a piece that is 8 inches wide by 11 inches tall, and I cut from this. So let's hop on over to my Silhouette Cameo, well actually the Silhouette Studio program, and I'll kind of show you how I set this up. It's really easy when you see, nothing fancy, but the trick is just using a material like this. So let's hop on over there and I'll show you what I do on the computer. Okay, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and I am working with the Designer Edition, which means I just paid a little bit extra to get a few more little tricks and buttons and things like that that you don't get in the standard edition, but you can do these stencils with the standard edition of Silhouette Studio. So in case mine looks any different than yours, that is why. But I'm going to open up a document here. I'm going to come over to the page setup panel, and I'm actually going to change my size setup because I'm not working with an 8.5 by 11. I am working with an 8 by 10 because I cut those holes off and cut the tab off. So I can come right here and change this. And that's important because I want to make sure that I don't put anything over in that 1/2 inch, because when it goes to cut, it's going to be empty space right here. So I want to make sure that this reflects the size of the material that I'm using. I don't need my print borders on because I'm not going to print anything, but here's where I want to make sure that that red cut border is on. If this is not on, and if I was to put something all the way up to the edge of this page, it's not going to cut. You have to have everything within this red border right here on the page. So there's just some simple page setup. And then in my library, I have a stencils and backgrounds file, and I have just now mind you, I had a business using my Silhouette Studio or Silhouette Cameo, and I paid monthly for credits in the store, and so I could buy content that way. So I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of files that I've collected over time. But you can see I have a variety of things here. I have things that are titled cards, backgrounds, stencils, overlays. So it doesn't necessarily say stencil. I just kind of go through the Silhouette Studio store and find things that I think are going to work. There are some titled stencils, but there's also other things like patterns and things like this that aren't titled stencils, but they would work for stencils, filigree paper, things like this that I can adjust and make to work for a stencil. So if you don't have anything like that, you can come into the store. This is online where you can buy files to use, cut files to use in Silhouette Studio. The nice thing about these is they already have cut lines and are set up to be cut, as opposed to the things I've shown you before with print and cut, having to create cut lines. You don't have to do that with files from Silhouette Studio because they're already set up to be used. So I can come in here and I can type in stencil and search for stencils and hope that my internet is halfway decent today. And then here you can see a variety of stencils that come up. Obviously I own a lot already. And you've got all kinds of things. This looks a lot like the Tim Holtz I think it's like a sun ray stencil. This just doesn't have the texture that that one has. They have them in different sizes. Now, something like this feather stencil, you may want to stay away from just because it's so delicate. You're just not going to really have great results in your Bible with something like this. Some product is going to kind of ooze underneath there. You're just going to struggle a little bit more with a file like these that are super, super intricate. I try to look for things that are very open and large and a little bit easier to transfer. But you can see there's a variety of things in here. You kind of have to sift through stuff. But if I look for overlays, then this kind of gives you a whole nother thing. So these are kind of intended to be incorporated into card designs or maybe scrapbooking, and you'd have a photo and things like that. But you could cut these out and use them like a stencil. So something like this could be a stencil, this could be a stencil. So all of these overlays could be stencils. Something like this, of course, is very intricate. That's not going to be great to use in your Bible, as pretty as it is. Maybe use it on a piece of cardstock and then use it as a tip-in or something like that, but you're really going to struggle with something like that. So you've got tons and tons in here. Backgrounds are another one that you can search and look at. This is going to be a variety of things, but a lot of these you can turn into stencils. You just kind of have to look and see. I don't see one here offhand, but if it's going to work for a stencil. If it doesn't have, I'm trying to find something that's got like a floating design, but you just kind of have to, in your mind, think whether it's going to work. And make sure all the solid pieces are connected and aren't just free floating solid pieces, because that's not going to work. I'm trying to find something that would be an example of that, but I don't see anything. So you've got all of these that are backgrounds. So you have all those choices. Now you can see these are that you have to pay for. Some of them, I think all the Valentine's Day stuff is on sale. So I think it's 74 cents for Valentine's Day stuff, but still, so now you've paid $1.70 something for 5 stencil sheets. You're paying, $1 for a stencil. You're still coming under, some stencils are like $10, $15 sometimes. They're really good quality, but that's kind of pricey when you want a lot of variety. And so something like this would work and still be inexpensive. But like I said, there's little bundles that you can purchase for credits, and it works out to even be cheaper if you pay a monthly fee. But okay, all of that extra. Let's go in and show you how I set this up. So I'm going to go into my library and pick a stencil. Let's see, maybe these butterflies. I'm going to merge the butterflies in there, and you can see it is super big. So everywhere where the red lines are, this is where it's going to cut. And I'm going to change that to black so you can just see it a little bit better. So everywhere where there's black lines, that's where it's going to cut. And actually, I'm going to fill this also. There we go. So that'll give you an idea of what the stencil would look like. And obviously, I don't want it that big. I typically like things like 4 to 6 inches. So if I grab a hold of this corner down here, I can resize this smaller. Let's say 4 inches. I can look at these numbers here, or I can come up to the size and change this to be specific. I didn't lock it. That was my mistake. Actually, let's go back. Okay, so I want to make sure this is locked. That way it sizes all sides at once. Okay, so then I can place that there. And then I can still add in multiple stencils on this sheet. I'm trying to see something I don't already have cut out. That won't take forever to cut. Do something like this. So merge it in there. And you can see this file, for some reason, is not, see how I get all those little boxes? I don't know where I got it from, but it's not all one piece. So I need to make that one piece. So I'm going to right click, make compound path, and now it's one piece. I'm going to fill that with black so you can see it. So this piece you can see is not going to have those straight edges like this one, but that's okay. That can create some fun designs and things like that. So let's move this back on here. I'm going to resize this one. And really, I kind of just see how much I can fit on one page as opposed to I want one giant 6-inch stencil. I'll sometimes do that, but I really like to try to get like 4 or 5 stencils on one page. So I'm going to go ahead and drag some more on here, and then we'll jump back over to my desk and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all cut out. To cut it out, you're going to go up to Send, and then I like to use the I think it's called Stencil Material Settings. So Silhouette sells a stencil material. It's a little bit thicker, I believe, than these dividers, but this stencil material setting still works for those dividers. So it's a blade of 3, which you need to actually physically change on the blade on your machine if you're not familiar with that. A speed of 2. If it's not super intricate, you can up this up a little bit, and then a force of 33. Pass of 1, my blade's getting a little bit dull and my cutting strip needs to be replaced, so sometimes I'll do 2 passes just to make sure I get a good cut, and then send it to my machine and it will cut. So let's hop on over to my desk and I'll show you what those look like when they're all finished. Okay, so here is my filthy dirty mat. Don't look at that. I ran through my Silhouette Cameo and it cut out. I added a couple other little stencils towards the bottom here, and so I can just peel this off and then take my stencils out, and then just any little pieces that maybe didn't pop out, just go through and pop all those out. So I have this one that was these little like drink rings. This one actually probably needs to be full size, but that's okay. So I can pop all those little pieces out. And I did this one with little feathers. And just be careful when you pop these pieces out on these little delicate stencils. Like this one may not be great just because it has those teeny tiny little center pieces to the feathers. May not be great stencils, but that's okay. So you get the idea. Pop all those out. And then this one here is the little honeycomb shape, and you can see that you don't have that straight edge like you do with the other ones. So I can pop all those pieces off. And then I've got my butterflies. I mean, and I used to save all of these little pieces like this to maybe use in a future project. But honestly, the colors of those aren't colors that I typically use, and I was hoarding these, and it was just, I would never use them, never reach for them, and so I'm just choosing to throw them away instead of hoarding stuff that I'll never use. I'm trying to be better about that, so I don't save those. And if it doesn't cut all the way through, I can go in with an X-Acto knife and get it any place that maybe didn't cut, like this butterfly. I'll have to use an X-Acto knife on. Like I said, I need to fix my little cutting strip that's in my mat. Okay, the only downside to this is you're left with this giant mess of all these little pieces on here. And I just take one of the little cards, you can take a gift card, and I just run this across my mat to one edge, and these little pieces pop off and fly everywhere. So I try to do it maybe like on my dining room table or something like that where I can see all the little pieces, but I just rub all that off and then I can throw all those pieces away. I'm not pressing super hard, just hard enough to catch the edge of those pieces. This is way worse if you do one of those like confetti stencils. There's all these little circles everywhere. But you can see that quickly cleans my, kind of cleans my mat, instead of having to go and pick each individual piece off, and then I can just throw all of that stuff away, and then you're good to go. So there's a look at how I make stencils on my Silhouette Cameo. If you have any questions, be sure to leave those down in the comments down below, and give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. If you're not familiar with my channel, check it out. If you're here just for the Silhouette Cameo tutorial, check out some of my other stuff that I have on my channel. I do Bible journaling tutorials, product reviews, things like that. So there's a lot of different stuff going on. I post several times a week, and so definitely subscribe if you haven't already. If you didn't know, there's a little bell down underneath the video. You can click on that and that'll give you a notification every time I have a new video, so you don't miss a video. And so definitely hit that bell if you want notifications. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.